The Navy guy who tried taking advantage of me. This is the Navy story I never thought I'd be saying, especially on YouTube, but you know me, I'm happy to share my life with you guys, and who knows, this video might educate some people. So in today's video, we're joined by T-Rex, lovely T-Rex with his nice little Santa outfit on, Slay, my little sausage dog Ribbon with his lovely little Santa hat on, also stunning. I've got my little Highland Cow reindeer thing, do you know what I mean? And then I've got Christopher Kringle, aka Santa Claus, aka Sugar Daddy, aka Empty Your Sack Santa. Give me all your money, darling. So let's jump straight into the video, I guess, guys. Let's set the scene. So this happened between October 2019 and March 2020. I joined the Royal Fleet Auxiliary as an apprentice chef at HMS Raleigh in Tor Point. Now, if you don't know what the Royal Fleet Auxiliary is, they are the civilian side of the Royal Navy. They replenish Royal Navy ships at sea with food, fuel, ammunition and stores, and they mainly crew the hospital ships, the fleet's on support ships and the tankers. Without the Royal Fleet Auxiliary, the Royal Navy wouldn't be as effective and as operational as they are just now, so you really need the Royal Fleet Auxiliary to operate the Royal Navy, essentially. So when you join the Royal Fleet Auxiliary as an apprentice, or at least when I joined 4 years ago, you were often put into 6-man mess decks during your apprenticeship. What this means is you are sharing a room with up to 6 other people. The women are the same, they'll be put in with 6 other women, we'll be put in with 6 other guys. It's just how it works in a military setting. So during my apprenticeship, we started with 6 guys. Within a month, we had lost 2. One had got the boot and one had left because he couldn't handle, obviously, being away from family. So for the story, that meant that there was 4 of us left in the room. Now, during the apprenticeship, you're working Monday to Friday at HMS Raleigh, and you get the Saturday and Sunday off to do whatever you want. You can go home or you can stay on the camp. Now, obviously, I'm from Scotland. I can't afford to fly to Scotland every weekend, so I often stayed at HMS Raleigh, and the 57-year-old that was in the room went home every weekend, which left 3 of us. Me, Richard, and the 16-year-old. Richard is a guy that took advantage, which you'll find out later in the story. When I first joined the Royal Fleet Auxiliary, Richard and I had clicked quite well, and within the first sort of 2 days, we both told each other that we were gay. But Richard told me that he was single. So when he flirted with me in that, I didn't really think anything of it, and I thought, do you know what? I don't mind. He's not the worst looking guy, and you know, it might turn out to be something. Let's just see how it goes. So we progressed through training, and about a month into training, I realised that Richard has a partner. I overheard him on the phone when I went into the shared kitchen. And I'd asked Richard, why did you lie about being in a relationship? And obviously he told me that he just wasn't liking his relationship and he didn't like his partner and all that stuff. So at that point, I made my intentions clear. Don't try and flirt with me. Be loyal to your man. I ain't interested, and I will definitely not entertain any more flirts from you. To start off with, he took it quite well, so I was like, do you know what? Fair enough. But things started getting weird. Like, I didn't have a problem when he asked me to go into the showers with him to shave his back, because I mean, if you try and shave your back, sister, you're going to end up splitting your back in half or looking like Slender Man, going right down, shaving your back.
Yeah, boy.
It's impossible. So when he asked me to shave his back and things, I would do it. But around about a month after rejecting him, obviously, and saying not to flirt with him, he would start following me into the toilets at HMS Raleigh, and start making me uncomfortable, as if he was trying to make a move. So anytime I would go to the toilet, he would get up out of his bed and follow me through and start talking, you know, salami to me. I don't want to use the word on YouTube, but you know what I mean. Start talking diggy diggy to me, trying to get action.
Give your meat a good old rub.
And I'm sitting there like, no, I'm not interested. I'm not interested in this, whatever. Anytime I would leave to go to the shower, again, he would follow me, trying to get the diggy diggy. It was like, no. It was like low-key harassment. It was so uncomfortable. Anytime I went to the toilet, he was always following me. At this point, obviously, I had the 16-year-old in the mess deck, he had the 57-year-old in the mess deck, and they were minding their own business, doing their own thing, and this guy was constantly making me uncomfortable by following me into the toilet all the time. So this happened for about 2 months. Again, You're probably thinking, why didn't you go and tell someone about it? I just didn't want the drama. At my early stages when I was younger, I was a drama queen. I wanted to get away from it. I didn't want to cause any drama. I truly didn't. So I just thought, when I leave the toilet, he usually doesn't follow me and it's fine. And if I need to go to the toilet, I'll go into a cubicle and I'll lock it behind me. Problem solved. So I kind of dealt with it for the first, month or so. Now, as I told him I didn't like him flirting with me, I was 17 at the time, by the way, he started flirting with a 16-year-old. And he was asking the 16-year-old, how much money do you want so I can blow your bagpipe?
Oops.
Like, nice set of bagpipes on the side, do you know what I mean? And he was saying stuff like that, and I was like, mate, this is getting weird. Do you know what I mean? I've rejected you, and now you're trying to flirt with a straight guy. Like, one thing you need to realise, if you're gay, don't try and flirt with a straight man or force your sexuality on a straight man. Respect their sexual orientation. Do you know what I mean? Like, that is a step too far. So he started flirting with the 16-year-old, and I just get the vibes. But at the same time, I feel like the 16-year-old can defend himself and leave it be. For my American viewers, in the UK, the legal age of consent is 16. So in the eyes of the law, there's no harm in what this guy was doing, speaking to the 16-year-old, just to put out there. So I think, oh, that's me out of it now, I don't have to worry about it, blah, 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 blah. Boy, was I wrong. Because I kept refusing his requests for a diggity, he would then obviously go and flirt with the 16-year-old, and the 16-year-old would flirt back in a way that was like probably jokingly or whatever, and this guy took it serious, as if this guy was actually flirting. So when we went into the galley to learn how to cook and that, he would try and make a remark to me, obviously Richard, and I would tell him, nah, still not interested, all that stuff. So then I would try and say something in my Scottish accent, and he would start taking the mick out of it. Being manipulative and trying to get the 16-year-old to turn on me as well, to make me uncomfortable. So that happened one day in the galley, and I snapped. I shouted. There'll be a record of it on my military record, or the record that the Navy keep.
You being a bitch is gonna help?
Of me shouting in the galley, and I burst out crying because I couldn't deal with it anymore. Getting followed to the toilet, getting manipulated in the class, getting taken the mick out of all the time in the class. I couldn't get a break. But all my other, classmates that were learning always said, well, why do you come out with us in the weekend if you don't like, obviously, Richard? They didn't know what I was going through, fair enough, but I told them I wasn't really a fan of him. And they said, oh, well, he's a nice enough guy and all that stuff, which fair enough. To put it into another perspective, Richard was the only one that drove. So on the weekends and stuff, he was the one that would take us out. So if I went and grassed him or that, I would look like the bad guy in front of all the other classmates because he was the one that made the weekends bearable, because he was the one that took them all out, essentially. About me grassing on him for following me into toilets and stuff like that, he'd probably get kicked out, and then I would have a target on my back, and it would make the 9-month or 6-month apprenticeship unbearable. So that's why I really didn't grasp, because there's more to the story, but I don't want to bore you with it. So anyway, he's flirting with the 16-year-old, and they're doing their thing, and we go out to the beach one night, and we're on our way back to Raleigh, and obviously the 57-year-old goes home every weekend, but this one weekend, Richard says to the 16-year-old, I'll pay for you to go home, go and see your family. And I'm sitting there thinking, this isn't good. Like, this is going to mean it's just me and Richard in this room tonight. I knew something was going to go wrong, but at the end of the day, my hands are tied. So he actually paid for the 16-year-old to go home and see his mum. And that meant it was me and Richard in the room that night alone. So, here's where it gets interesting. I fall asleep, he's at the other side of the room, and he comes across to my side of the room, and I'm sleeping. I'm unaware of what's going on. Can't go into too much detail for YouTube, but what I will say is he tried the diggity when I was sleeping. Like, I woke up and there was nothing down there, and he was, that's all I'm going to say. So, obviously I woke up immediately. I was really angry, really annoyed, and I just thought, you know what? I really can't do anything about it tonight. I don't know what to do. I'm shaking up. Go back to your side of the room. All that stuff. I was speaking to a guy at this time, just to put the other bit of the story out there. I was speaking to a Royal Navy officer that I kind of had a crush on. He was gay. He was starting off his career, and we were talking. and Richard knew about that about a week prior. But for somehow Richard had managed to gain access to my Facebook, and the night after he did what he did, I woke up to my Facebook basically being locked out of my Facebook. Now, I made a stupid mistake when I was at Raleigh. The Wi-Fi password for my phone's hotspot or something was my password for Facebook. And he obviously knew my email address regardless because I gave it to him for something. So he knew my email address and I stupidly set my hotspot password to my Facebook password. So I woke up in the morning after what he did and realised that he had hacked my Facebook and locked me out of my account. At this point, two-factor authentication wasn't a thing. So I woke up the next day, locked out my Facebook, feeling lost, feeling really emotional that I don't have the support of the guy that I was talking to on Facebook, as I was telling him everything that Richard was doing to me, and it was my coping mechanism. So as the morning progresses, and as I realise I'm locked on my Facebook, and as I realise what he did to me, I ran downstairs to the game room, locked myself in the gaming room, and I burst out crying. Like, at this point, I'm exhausted. He's followed me in the toilets. He's now tried to do it to me while I'm sleeping. He's been manipulating me for months, and he's hacked my Facebook this morning. That was the last straw. That was my coping mechanism, speaking to people. And not to mention that I was drinking vodka and Coke as a coping mechanism, at least one glass a night, to take the edge off of what was happening to me. And basically, I spoke to the Royal Navy officer because I had his phone number and the guy I was interested in, and he recommended me to go and see the chaplain at HMS Raleigh, and I did that. I went straight to the chaplain, told him what had happened to me, and the Ministry of Defence acted quite quick. They had sent the police around to the chefing school, they arrested the guy and took him away for questioning, and I was taken away as well. Now, I'm not blaming the Royal Fleet Auxiliary, I'm not blaming the Royal Navy for this. Again, it's just a story time of what happened. This is what happened, but they seriously failed me in my opinion, because when they took the evidence to do the swabs and that, they took the wrong clothing. Basically, after what had happened to me, I was sent away. I was sent to the hospital on camp, and I spent about 2 nights in the hospital on camp, just being observed in being a safe place before being sent on compassionate leave for the Christmas break. So when I am on compassionate leave, I obviously come back and they put me into my own private room, obviously after what happened, and I go back down to my main mess deck that I was in where he did what he did to get my belongings, and I found the bag of all the stuff that literally I was wearing that night in my dirty laundry bag that the police hadn't taken. I'm past it now, I've moved on. It's not something that's majorly affected me, but it was scary at the time and I'm grateful I got away from it. I know this video's been a rough one, guys, but I do like to share my stories with you. So if you did enjoy this, please do like. If you want to leave your comments down below, if you've ever had an experience like this, please leave them below. And I'll see you guys in the next upload.